guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I wanted to sit down and talk about where I've been and how I've sort of been teaching Pilates a little bit differently than normal. So basically I'm having a lot of SI joint dysfunction and it's been causing me a lot of pain. I actually took a break from Pilates altogether just to sort of figure out what was going on. It was really hard for me to feel any sort of relief, and to be honest with you, it has still been a challenge. I have been in chronic pain for the last 5 months. Every single day I wake up in pain. Every single day I go to bed in pain. And this is something that's not really new to me. I had a back injury back when I was in high school and I was a competitive cheerleader. And it really showed me a different side to movement and how movement is almost scary when you're moving in pain. And Pilates was the only thing that gave me relief for the first time when I had that back injury back in high school. And there was no specific moment where I hurt my back. It just kind of gradually happened over time, over the summer. However, I am in a place where I'm in quite a lot of pain, and I'm finding myself in that same mindset of being scared to move again and being really hesitant in my practice. So, I just wanted to talk today about the Pilates world and what's sort of going on online, what's going on in small group classes, and what to keep an eye out for. And if you're somebody who is in pain, who is recovering from injury, who just had surgery, and is trying to get back into the world of movement, let me share some of what I've learned as a classical Pilates instructor in the movement space. I feel like the first thing I've really noticed is how important it is to keep your body healthy as a teacher. This is something that they talked a lot about in my apprentice program, but it kind of went right over my head. And it was like, oh, yeah, keep your body healthy. But I didn't really understand the magnitude of it until I started teaching, especially if you're teaching full time. You are on your feet all day, consecutive hour after hour. You're moving other people's bodies. You're spotting the carriage. You're spotting the pedal. Your body is being put in vulnerable positions where you need to use your powerhouse. And what happens to me is I'm thinking so much about the other person that I don't really think about myself. I don't really think about pulling my stomach muscles in. I don't really think about the posture that my body should be in because I'm so in help other people mode. But prioritizing your body is definitely the most important. So through me moving this injury in my lower back, I have had to be more mindful of how I'm moving my body. And it's also made me more mindful of when I'm choosing to spot and when I'm not choosing to spot. And it's kind of different because if it's a private lesson, I'm always going to spot unless the person is an apprentice or somebody who's very well experienced. But in a group class, I am deciding that verbal cueing can go a really long way. And take this safety measure out of it. I'm always going to spot the carriage if it's for safety, if somebody's new, that sort of thing. So I'm not even really going to get into that. But I've really been experimenting with verbal cueing and how can I use my words to get this group of people to feel, think, and do exactly what I'm trying to get them to. And honestly, giving them that responsibility of being able to listen to my words and perform the exercise with a level of proficiency has been really empowering. I feel like I've been given a lot more of the reins to my people because I'm not having to spot them in a teaser. They're just doing it. Instead of coming up behind them in their sidekick series and kind of encouraging their hip to go forward, I'm using my words to get them in the right position. So it's made me a stronger teacher, and it's definitely made my students strong-minded in a different way. Tactile cues are absolutely incredible. The hands-on experience that you get is absolutely incredible, but it was a side of my teaching that I hadn't really strengthened. And I feel really good now verbally cueing in a group setting without too much touchy-touchy. This kind of leads into my next point, privates versus group class. Not to get too into it, but the Pilates world right now is getting really crazy. And just to keep it really brief, Pilates, the word Pilates is not regulated. So people are slapping Pilates on other forms of exercise, sculpt. Really, we're doing a lot of sculpting, but we're not doing a lot of Pilates. So it is getting a little bit tricky seeing things happen online that aren't Pilates. But I am going to speak to true classical and contemporary Pilates. Now, in my world, it's really just classical. However, I do recognize contemporary Pilates and I respect the craft. And I don't think the argument is between contemporary versus classical. I think now people are just making stuff up. But if we're talking private lesson versus a group class in classical Pilates, when we're talking about injury or pain, in my professional opinion, if you are somebody who is in pain, for example, you have herniated discs, you have a spinal fusion, you have osteoporosis, you have a torn meniscus, you're recovering from a torn meniscus surgery, you have neck pain that you have no idea what it is and you don't really feel like going to get it checked out by a doctor, any of those things, you should be in a private lesson. Private lessons aren't really talked about that much in like the mainstream Pilates world, which is kind of crazy to me because I was literally taught in my teacher training program how to work one-on-one. We were never really taught to work in a group setting. So I feel more comfortable teaching one-on-one. And now that I'm teaching in a group class, I see so many people come in who should be doing private lessons. The level of attention that you will get in a private lesson is completely catered to your body. For example, my body right now, I have an SI joint injury. My SI joint is pushing on my L5 disc. So it's causing me a lot of disc pain, kind of mimicking a herniation on top of the dysfunction in my SI joint. So my protocol would be to keep me flat back, meaning there's no forward flexion, there's no rounding of my spine. That's pretty impossible to do in a group class because we can't really cater to just one person's needs, because if we cater to one person's needs, we would have to cater to everybody's needs. And then how do you run the group class? So if you're unsure where you should be, if you should be in a group class, if you should be in a private lesson, assess your body. How does your body feel? What are your past injuries? What are your past surgeries? What are your current limitations? If there's none, group class is a great place to be. If there's some, private lesson is a great place to be. You want the eyes on you. You want somebody watching you. You want somebody making sure that your body's safe. And you should be walking out of Pilates feeling better than when you walked in. I'm seeing like a lot of people coming from group class who are in pain. And it's just kind of scary. And it's also really sad to see because I feel like the beauty of Pilates is almost being clouded, is being manipulated in a way that it was never meant to. I feel like I have so much to say about the current state of the Pilates world. And if you get it, you get it. And honestly, leave me a comment because I would like to connect. I want to be friends. I feel like there are so few people who truly understand Pilates as a systematic approach, who respect the craft and respect the lineage of Joe Pilates. So if I'm preaching to the choir, if you're listening to this and you're just like, yes, girl, I hear you, I feel you, I do real Pilates, then leave a comment and I will message you and we can be friends because I need more Pilates friends who get it. Lastly, I just wanted to talk a little bit about my current state of mind being in pain. And this is personal. I feel a little uncomfortable sharing it, but I just feel like people can relate and not a lot of people talk about pain, physical pain. When you're in pain for so long, you almost reach a point where you're a bit numb, where you're unsure of your level of pain. Doctors ask me, my instructors ask me, friends ask me, 1 to 10, 10 being I'm in a lot of pain. And Right now, I feel like I'm at a point where I'm just hanging out at a 5, but I can't quite figure out if the 5 is me just getting used to the pain or if I'm just kind of at this weird maintaining a 5 phase. If you're in pain, if you've ever been in pain, it's really hard to come out of, both physically and mentally. My back's been hurting now for months, probably since September. And I'm starting to feel like I'm scared to move. We've taken the protocol of flat back for Pilates, and now that I'm beginning to round, because my back is getting better, I am beginning to start to go into forward flexion. I feel really hesitant when I'm in my lessons and I'm with my instructor and we're talking about, okay, let's start to round. And they're asking me, how does it feel? It's this internal battle in my mind of, does it hurt? Am I overthinking it? Or is it just working? So I feel like all three of those questions are kind of like muddled in my mind when I start to go into a position that I've been avoiding. And then like, oh, how does it feel? And it's like, well, I don't really know. I feel the hesitancy is fear of making it worse, fear of getting hurt again. And the fear is driving the pain. And that has been something that I'm really noticing. I'm very fearful to move. I'm very fearful to try new things, to get back into things that I love. I love doing yoga. I haven't gone back because I've been afraid. I'm hypermobile. So moving from my joint has been what we've kind of been trying to avoid, and more focused on strengthening my muscles. So yeah, it's been a battle. It's definitely been a battle, but I'm trying to work through a lot of it in my mind because, like I said, once you've been in pain for so long, you kind of get stuck in this like loop in your mind of just like, it hurts, it hurts, it hurts. And then you're kind of like miserable all the time because you're in pain. But then you also like don't want to be miserable all the time because that's like no way to live. And it's like a very ugly loop that just kind of takes over, and feeds on each other. If you guys want to hear me talk more about my past injuries and what I'm doing to heal this current injury, both mentally and physically and spiritually, honestly, let me know because I've had a pretty big list of injury and I've had quite a long recovery process and experimenting with different things and that whole sort of situation. But I just wanted to give you guys an update on where I am at. I am trying to get back to posting on YouTube. I love posting my mat Pilates videos and my reformer Pilates videos. I think I'm going to start gearing them towards the workouts I've been doing because that's just what I can do right now. Definitely lower back friendly, any herniations in your spine friendly. So yeah, that's where I'll be. And I'll be hosting free mat classes on Zoom, open to the public, beginner friendly, intermediate friendly. I'll meet you where you're at. All you need is a mat. I'll post more details about that on my Instagram. So if you want to go take a look, a little bit of a mind dump. I know it was all over the place. I just wanted to get on here and talk and just get over the hump of posting again. So I will be back very soon. I hope you're all doing well. And if you are in pain, please take care of your body. Give yourself a little grace. And hopefully the next time I see you, it's a workout video. Bye, guys.